Hello, and thank you for joining us for our latest YouTube video from the Gassman Financial Group and G&G Planning Concepts. Today we're going to talk about financial aid planning, and we invited our intern slash associate Isa to present today's video because he's entirely age appropriate to be talking about financial aid and the ins and outs of a FAFSA form. So we hope you pick up a lot of useful knowledge about financial aid planning. So without further ado, I'm going to let Isa take it away.
Thank you, John, for your introduction. So let us begin with our presentation, Financial Aid Planning. First slide is the disclosure. So, Intro to Financial Aid. So what is it? Financial aid is designed to help students and their families pay for college. It covers educational expenses such as tuition and fees, room and board, books and supplies, as well as transportation. While it is funded through many sources, the largest source of its funds comes from federal and state governments. There are several types of financial aid. They include grants and scholarships, work study, and loans. The financial aid awards given to you or your child may include a combination of these types of aids. Moving on. So, how do they calculate financial aid eligibility? So the factors that determine need-based eligibility are enrollment status. So that just discusses whether you're a full-time student or a part-time student. Second would be the cost of attendance. So this is how much will it cost you to go to that school. It includes tuition and fees, room and board, and books and supplies, as well as costs related to any disabilities you or your child may have. Third is the expected family contribution. EFC. So that is taken from the annual FAFSA report that you are required to submit when applying for financial aid. It includes you and your family's taxed and untaxed income, as well as assets and family size, and how many family members are going to college at that time. So how financial aid is calculated is they take the cost of attendance and they subtract that from the EFC, the expected family contribution. And the remainder that you get is more or less the need-based eligibility that you're eligible for. So let's understand EFC and how it works. So the formula for calculating EFC takes into account 20% of the student's assets, 50% of the student's income, 2.6% to 5.6% of parents' assets, and 22% to 47% of parents' income. The variance is typically is unique to each individual. So that's why you see that difference from 22 to 47 or 2.6% to 5.6%. So what includes the student's assets? The student's assets would include his or her money, investments, business interests, and real estate. Parent assets are also the same, so their money, investments, business interests, and real estate. What's important to understand here is that specific types of assets affect the aid formula differently. So, for example, the IRA or 401ks, aka qualified retirement accounts, are actually not included in the EFC calculation. So you could use those accounts to pay for college. However, you need to understand that when withdrawing from those accounts, when taking money from those accounts, you are liable to taxes. And also the income that you take from those accounts will be included in next year's FAFSA form that you have to fill out. So that's not an ideal source of funding your college. We would recommend 529 plans because they are a better option. They may be, depending on each person, a better option for saving for college. Why is that? Well, it's because 529 plans are designed to offer tax advantages as well as contribution advantages to the EFC formula. Another thing that is also excluded from the EFC formula would be equity in a primary home, as well as insurance policies and annuities. Moving on to the next slide. Financial aid consideration. So what are the basic points to remember? What's important to remember is that the rules are constantly changing for financial aid. The rules today that I've based this presentation on may not typically be the rules in the future. We see that different assets are calculated differently. Maybe they put more weight on the student's assets or more weight on the parent's assets. Another basic point to remember is that financial aid officers have a lot of latitude in determining the aid package a child ultimately receives. So with this point, I would recommend, when you're visiting the college that you would like to go to, or when you're there for orientation, to stop by the financial aid office and speak to the officers and introduce yourself, as well as gain an understanding of how they calculate financial aid, because every school does calculate financial aid a little differently. So when you do visit a college, it's important to understand and introduce yourself and speak with them to gain an understanding of exactly how much financial aid you're eligible for. And the final point would be to save for college and reduce your reliance on uncertainty. So as I explained before, the rules are constantly changing. So in order to get rid of that risk, we would recommend taking up a 529 plan and saving for college that way, so that you reduce your reliance on uncertainty and what the rules may be during the time of either you going to college or your children. So I wanted to thank you all for watching this presentation on financial aid planning. I hope after seeing this presentation you guys come away with a general understanding of how the financial aid system works, as well as how to plan accordingly for it when you or your child ultimately goes to college. If you have any other questions in regards to fillable forms or application deadlines for FAFSA, please check out the studentaid.edu website, as well as also make sure to check out our content, our YouTube content on the Gassman FG/YouTube. Thank you and take care.